Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Reckless Paradise podcast. I am your host, Dystro, and tonight's episode is a debate hour episode. And tonight is a Halloween themed wrestling episode. Both matches that I'm going to be talking about is from Halloween Havoc. And we just had Halloween Havoc not too long ago. So I think it's very fitting to kind of pick and choose, two awe-inspiring matches that I deemed very worthy of this. And two of those matches are from 97 and 98, respectively. The one from 97 is Rey Mysterio versus Eddie Guerrero, title versus mask for the WCW Cruiserweight Championship. And the one from 98 is DDP versus Goldberg. Both are retrospectively strong in their own way. So I kind of want to go over the buy rate for both of the shows to kind of just see where we're at in the time frame here. So in 97 we had a 405,000 buy rate, and then the one in 98 was 310,000. A 95,000 deficit dip from the previous year. So let's go into 97 here with Rey Mysterio versus Eddie Guerrero. Title versus mask, like I said. And it went on third. I kind of wish it was before Randy Savage versus DDP. And I wish it would have gotten a little bit more time than it did. Because, if you give those two half an hour, they would have literally gave you magic. But some of the rest of the card went like this. So we had Yuji Nagata versus Ultimo Dragon, which is really a good match. Chris Jericho versus Gato, another classic match, but Chris Jericho almost breaks his freaking neck in that match. Very, very scary. And then it kind of goes downhill a little bit after Mysterio versus Guerrero. We have Alex Wright filling in for Jeff Jarrett, defeating Steve Mongo McMichael. Jacqueline versus Disco Inferno. Kurt Hennig, who is the United States champion at that point, defeats Ric Flair by DQ. Boo. Lex Luger versus Scott Hall in no contest. Boo. And then, like I said, Randy Savage versus DDP in a Las Vegas sudden death match, which is another classic match too. I kind of want to go over that feud between Savage and DDP at some point in the future, so let's keep that in mind. And then the main event was Roddy Piper versus Hollywood Hulk Hogan, which was in this new cage. A lot of pay-per-view buys off of that, maybe. But I was also thinking it was probably because of Rey Mysterio versus Eddie Guerrero. So going into 98, like I said, the match that I'm going to be talking about from that one is Goldberg versus DDP for the World Championship, which has a lot of controversy behind it, because not a lot of people got to see that match, I should say, excuse me, because the satellite providers kind of just ixnayed as soon as they locked up, and it just went to black. The last match that a lot of people saw was Hogan versus Warrior, which literally stunk up the joint. So the rest of the card for 98 went like this. Jericho versus Raven in a television championship match. Raph versus Ming. Disco Inferno versus Juventud Guerrera. Alex Wright versus Fit Finley. Saturn versus Lodi. Billy Kidman versus Disco Inferno for the Cruiserweight Championship. Yes, Disco wrestled 2 times that night. Steiner and Bagwell versus Scott Steiner and the Giant. Rick Steiner and Scott Steiner were broken up at this point for the WCW World Tag Team Championships, which literally just should have not been involved at that point. Rick Steiner versus Scott in no DQ went 5 minutes. Scott Hall versus Kevin Nash in count out went 14 minutes 19 seconds, which went way too long. A match that should have probably been good on paper. Bret Hart versus Sting for the WCW United States Championship, which literally stunk up the joint. Due to Hart and Sting kind of having loads of interference, Hart literally blasts the fucking ref and hits Sting with not one, not two, not three, but four back shots to get him down, and puts in the sharpshooter to a beating Sting, and it's just like why? Like, you have two of the best people in Hart and Sting. Not to mention that Bret Hart turned heel on Sting and aligned himself with Hollywood Hogan for the NWO, which he literally said he wouldn't want to do. So you have this deficit, and it's like, well, okay, well, you don't want Bret to look stupid, so you make Sting look stupid, and it's kind of just like, okay, well, fuck it, fuck Sting, I guess. And it went 15 minutes, like, oh my god. And then, like I said, Hogan versus Warrior went 14 minutes and 18 seconds, went way too long. And then you had the main event, Goldberg, DDP for the World Championship, went 10 and a half. 10 and a half minutes, I should say. So, where should I begin? I guess I'll go with I'll start with Goldberg versus DDP here. So, WCW ran Halloween Havoc 98 to 3.5 hour pay-per-view rather than standard 3. Due to this, many pay-per-view feeds ended at the main event. While the main event of Goldberg vs. DDP was still underway, WCW aired the match the following night on TNT, which got a huge rating. WWE journalist Kevin Powers held the belt as the best ever held at a Halloween Havoc event while criticizing Hogan and Warrior. Makes sense. He wrote, "It's hard to believe that thousands of pay-per-view customers missed the main event of Halloween Havoc 98 because WCW ran out of broadcast time. By some cruel twist of fate, fans did get to watch the disastrous WrestleMania 6 rematch between Warrior and Hogan, only to see the screens go black as Page locked up with Goldberg. It was the best match in the October's event 11-year span, which is a high praise. Luke Winkie, of Sports Illustrated said Goldberg versus Page, said of Goldberg versus Page, "It's a great match. If more TVs carried this match, maybe Hogan Warrior disaster would be less remembered." WCW was forced to reimburse millions of dollars to customers who ordered Halloween Havoc. The match was shown on the next night on Nitro. However, this showing was edited out of this particular show on the WWE Network. RIP WWE Network. So, I will say this. Goldberg versus DDP on paper, it is face versus face. And you literally told a good story between Goldberg, who's this like undefeated monster machine, and you have DDP, who is like the quote unquote people's champion of WCW. He's no Rock or anything, but when he gets to WWF, he gets shit down a lot in WWF due to Undertaker. Wink, wink. So you played to Goldberg's strengths. He has a lot of power moves. He can't go a little bit over than 5 minutes, a little bit. But if you kind of just keep him, excuse me, if you kind of keep him contained to the burst of power and kind of just like make it a world beater for DDP to like be like, okay, look, like I gotta keep this guy on the ground. I gotta keep him like grounded, and DDP almost won the title maybe like 2 or 3 times. But it was like one jackhammer from Goldberg, and that was it. And multiple, I think, spear attempts too. But DDP moved out of the way of that. it was actually a really good main event too. For 98, and Goldberg's still a hot commodity at around that time. DDP was just getting into that main event scene because of the feud from '97 with Savage. That kind of boosted him into the main event scene. Um, but I will say the event itself kind of hindered a little bit due to excuse me, due to the Steiner breakup, and then the World Tag Titles on the line in a match where Buff Bagwell portrays Rick. Rick wins the fucking belts anyway, and then he's gone. So then Rick gets 10 minutes with his brother Scott. Then Bagwell comes back out and kind of like in a Bill Clinton mask, hits Rick anyway, and it's kind of like what the fuck. I wish they would have just done Rick versus Scott, no DQ, with no tag titles or anything on the line, or in a steel cage or something. That would have been way better. Scott Hall versus Nash should have went maybe like 5 minutes, double count out, whatever. Hogan Warrior, same thing, like 5 minutes and all that stuff. Kind of like give some of the cruiserweight guys, like give them like some more time, because cruiserweights around this time in 97 98, it's kind of like a huge hot commodity. Because Kidman around this time in 98, he is the WCW Cruiserweight Champion. He's going into 98, or going into 99, I think, as Cruiserweight Champion at that time. A match that I would recommend from that 98, from 98, I would say, the Starrcade match between Kidman, Hoovy, and Rey Mysterio. Like, those three put on a huge banger of a match, and then Kidman follows it up with another Cruiserweight Championship match against Eddie Guerrero. So he wrestled 2 times in one fucking night, and why not give Billy Kidman United States Championship or TV Champion? Or Championship, I should say. And it goes to show you that, they literally did not give a shit about some of these cruiserweight guys, because they did not want to have them up against the glass ceiling and break through. Quote unquote, like I'm saying about Eddie Guerrero versus Rey Mysterio. Kind of going into that a little bit. That was third match on the card in '97. If you had given them just a little bit more time, like I said, kind of give them like half an hour, they would have literally gave you some magic. Because it was title versus mask, high stakes, high reward, for the Cruiserweight Championship, which was a nice belt at that point. Like, you could have literally just gave them like all the match from Hogan or Hall versus Luger. Like, literally just give that to the Cruiserweight Championship match. Like, give them half an hour, like I said. And, like I said, Cruiserweight Championship matches were, like, the highlight of the shows. And on Nitro, and maybe Thunder at that point. It's like, it just sucks, I don't know, like, both matches in their retrospective eras of time is like a time capsule, because you can go back to each match and kind of like watch it for different reasons. So if you wanted like something that was kind of like short, sweet, and simple, you would go with Goldberg versus DDP. But if you wanted something that was kind of like fast paced but kind of like methodical and lucha libre and all that stuff, you would go with Mysterio versus Guerrero. I think, in that being said, I'm gonna go with Mysterio versus Guerrero, due to the fact that it was like the plot point where the buy rates went up a little bit, because it was 405,000 buys, and I think it was just only because of the Cruiserweight Championship match, the Savage and Page match, and Roddy Piper versus Hogan. Those two alone, the last two that I mentioned, like probably sold a lot of tickets, but Mysterio and Guerrero, they pulled a lot of stuff out of their arsenal to make sure, everybody bit on every single pinfall, submission, whatever. Same with Goldberg and DDP. They pulled like a lot of stuff out of their arsenal that they would not probably do. Um, I would have probably given the belt to DDP at that point if you had to sacrifice the Goldberg streak. Um, but then again, not a lot of people got to see that match. So, but yeah, my definitive answer is Mysterio versus Guerrero from Halloween Havoc 97. And that is it. It was kind of short and sweet and simple episode for tonight. But if you have made it to the very end of this episode, we do really, really appreciate it. If you follow us on all social media links in the description below, which will take you to our link tree, which will take you to our Instagram pages, Twitter pages, the podcast Reddit page is on there. My gaming YouTube channel is on there. I am at 1574 or 75 at this point. Kind of getting close to my goal for 1800 for at the end of this year. Good goal. And tonight's song of the night is a band that I have been recently introduced to for the last few months. And it is called The Pretty Wild. It is a duo sister group. They do like a lot of like heavy metal, like metalcore stuff. And they are currently signed to Cimmerian Records, which is a huge like heavy metal band record label. And the song that I'm choosing is a song called Paradox, and I've actually been hooked on that as of late. I wonder if my Spotify Wrapped is gonna like have that as my number one song. Probably not. But yeah, there is a music video for it, and that is it. And I will see you guys in November. Happy Halloween, everyone. Peace.